Hello and welcome back to Finger Guns with Tony, Dave, and James. I am one of your fearless co-hosts, Dave Baldwin, and I am here with
Big T Tony B.
and nope, he's not here. Sorry, sorry. James is bringing bacon is making bacon again. Tony and I had the great privilege of speaking to Matthew Rankin, as well as his writers Pirouz and Ila, about universal language, which is part of Canada's top 10 and was Canada's Canada's pick for nominations for best best international film at the Academy Awards this past year, or this past month. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? They opened they said they gave us the nominations like 2 weeks ago, and Universal Language wasn't there, and I don't know why.
Yeah. That's a little bit of a snub. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So this film, it was at TIFF and it was at Cannes. We had the privilege of seeing it at TIFF, and then we got to watch it again. It's kind of like a reimagined Winnipeg, where the national language, or actually it's mostly a reinterpreted Canada, right? Because
like the reinterpreted Canada.
The national languages are French and Farsi.
Yeah, which is definitely a choice. I'm not going to lie. It is something that you wouldn't regularly see. It is definitely an out of the box movie with a very familiar story, I would say.
For sure, it's definitely very. There's definitely a lot of emotion, a lot of love on the screen, and a lot of absurdism. Tony and I kind of like waddled into a screening of the 20th Century, Matthew's first film, a few years back at TIFF on a whim because we needed to fill a slot. And I don't remember if we sat in the front or not, but I remember that my brain kind of like splattered against the people behind me. So I apologize to them because that movie fucked me up right good.
we weren't really expecting anything. Like it just kind of came out of nowhere. I wish that I got to talk to him a little bit more about 20th Century. If you haven't seen that, definitely give that a watch. That is definitely something you have never seen and will probably never see again. It is definitely a choice. For sure.
That's a good word. That's a good way to describe it. Choice. I like that. But Universal Language, I think, is a little more accessible. It still has the absurdism, but there's a lot more
less gonzo
and a lot more humanity to it. And there's a couple of fun scenes that take place in a reinterpreted Tim Hortons that I wouldn't mind going to.
I would go in there for sure.
Yeah, maybe if it wasn't in Winnipeg.
No, definitely not Winnipeg. It's a little cold in Winnipeg right now.
I'm good with not going to Winnipeg, and we know it's in Manitoba and not Alberta, even though for some reason they keep bringing that up in this film.
Oh my goodness!
But we enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoy our conversation with this lovely trio. And without further ado, here's us talking about Universal Language.
Enjoy, everybody.
Nice to meet you three. Again, thank you for taking the time today. How did the three of you guys link up before you started writing this?
I guess as people link up, friendship, and I guess we had dinner together or something. Ila and I shared some poems together on Instagram. I don't know, just as people meet up, I guess.
Yeah. It was fate, let's say.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear. Was there any inspirations that you guys used when you were writing Universal Languages? Like any film inspirations?
Many.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of a hybrid movie, and it's referencing three big cinematic languages. the films of Abbas Kiarostami, of course, some of the Mohsen Makhmalbaf films, Jafar Panahi. I would say Still Life by Sohrab Shahid. No, A Simple Event, even more than that. A Simple Event by Sohrab Shahid Soles. And then I'd say there's a lot of Jacques Tati in the movie. There's some Chantal Ackerman in the movie. John Pays would be a really important Winnipeg reference. John Paskovich, we really love his film Ted Berluck's Grocery. That was one we watched a lot when we were preparing. And then a few Quebecois films. There's a number of just inconsolably melancholy Quebecois films that we I would say also kind of exert some influence on the movie. And yeah, so it's really at a confluence of many films.
Interesting. And Matt, did you use any different reference points when you were filming the film?
No, though I would say those were big ones. I'm trying to think what other ones were. I know that I showed Point and Line to Plane by Sofia Bodanovich to Isabel Stachenko. That's one of my favorite short films, and has just an amazing kind of mood to it. So beautiful. I love that movie. We watched that. I know we watched a lot of the driving scenes in The Wind Will Carry Us by Kiarostami. There's a lot of really good driving in that movie, like really good driving shots. Some of the best drive. I mean, this is a filmmaker he's done a lot of driving. He must be really good at parallel parking, Kiarostami. But the driving is particularly good in The Wind Will Carry Us. So we watched a little bit of that. We watched something else. I'm trying to think. Together, did we watch any reference films? I don't know.
I don't remember now, but
we watched Ted Berluck's Grocery for sure.
Yeah, we watched a lot. We listened to a lot of musics together. That's another thing. So many Iranian musics together, so many fusion. So that was another reference for us too. And yeah. We talked a lot. Let's say we talked a lot at the end. We talked a lot and still going on. Even our jaws are a little bit numb after all, but still a lot together.
Definitely.
What were your experiences like acting versus writing? Because the three of you are all in the film.
Yeah. But Pirouz is the real celebrity.
I was going to say I didn't want to put anyone on the spot, but I was going to say
it's very difficult being in front of camera. I mean, there's a safety of being behind the camera that I feel being in front, you're really vulnerable, and it's very different. And it was quite challenging. I mean, for us, in each one of us in different way. I mean, to be, a director and actor is difficult on it by itself, and acting in another language is a whole other level. So I think Matthew had the most challenging kind of role in the sense of balancing all of this out. But, as he says, we were there to support him, and you can maybe...
it was, we had a good support system in place. Lots of times, if I had to perform in the thing, we do the blocking with Pirouz as playing my part, and then when we figured out the blocking, I would jump across and do it. So that it was it's a strange method, but it is a thing that happens. I mean, there's there are precedents for this. There's nothing tremendously new, but it was, I don't know, it was fun. It's good to put put our skin in the game, I guess, to some degree. It does make it even more personal than it would be. We're not actually us in it, but it was also really fun. We also met a lot of really amazing actors. Mani Soleimanlou, who's a genius. He's kind of a celebrity in Quebec. He plays the teacher in the film, and he's just amazing. And the young talents also were particularly spectacular, we thought, and really an inspiration to us. Particularly the two young sisters, played by Rojina Ismaili and Saba Vahed Yousefi. We met them through the Dekhoda Institute, it's a Farsi language school in Montreal, and we just put out this open call. Anybody who's interested in being in a movie, come meet us. No experience necessary, and immediately 50 very precocious children showed up, and almost everybody's in the movie. Like, it's anyone who really wanted to be in the movie is in the movie. You know, it's I'm a big fan of the school play approach to casting, where it's kind of like there's a role for everybody, you know, and everybody's welcome, and that's sort of how we wrote the script. Even was to sort of, you know, kind of adjust the script and the story in particular, and the characters to the individual personality of the actor who's going to play the role. And Regina and Saba have very strong personalities and a very developed sense of the absurd. So they got the tone we were after, like, immediately. But we did sort of adjust the characters to them so they could express themselves.
I was going to say they would definitely need to understand absurdism being in the film, for sure.
Yeah, no, they got that tuning fork, like 100%, and were great collaborators.
Amazing. And what was were there any real challenges you faced during filming? Or, like, I know the set design really, really was amazing, and you managed to change all the signs to Farsi, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, those signs, there's a lot of really great artists who worked on them. Most of them were made by our friend Paya Mofidi, who's a brilliant artist in Montreal. One artist in Toronto who made the enormous banners for Portage Place Shopping Mall. And she also made the 500 riel note, the Louis Riel banknote. Sarah Chori, she's a brilliant artist. Did amazing work on the film. And then some of the signs were made by Pirouz. Yeah, even I made one or two of them.
Yeah, we had a lot of like get-togethers where we would just have fun making these. And but in terms of challenges, I would say just winter and shooting outside. It's like
winter in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
huge challenge. I mean, people ask us, "Oh, was it as cold as it looks?" And we told them it was colder. It's much colder than it looks.
That's right. It doesn't even look as cold as it was. Yeah, that's true. That was really the biggest challenge. You know, the signs, that was fun. It's true. All of the kind of, I don't know, Winnipeg landmarks and monuments and this kind of thing, those were fun to make. You know, that was a joy. We had a lot of fun making those. But yeah, weather was tricky. It was either very, 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 like, unbelievably cold, or it was too warm and the snow was melting, you know. So winter as a season is sort of an endangered season. And I think each winter it becomes sort of more and more difficult to make images of winter. But of course, in Canada, we have this very prolific Hallmark movement of Christmas films. And they have taught us that it only needs to be Christmas inside the frame, right? Outside the frame, it can be a beautiful August day, 30 degrees. Inside the frame, it's Christmas time. So we tried to draw inspiration from
that. Very nice. Matthew, one question for you. Was it a choice to go shoot on film versus digital?
Sorry, we didn't catch that. We got a little frozen there.
My question was towards how you filmed it. Was it a choice to film it on film versus filming it on digital? Like, what was your reasoning behind that?
Oh yeah, well, I always wanted to shoot it on film, but specifically 16 millimeter film. What I love about 16 millimeter, and particularly 500T, we use the fastest stock, was always going to be that. And that had a lot to do with the fact that with 60 millimeter, there's less information. When you have extremely high resolution, that's a lot of information. Even 35 millimeter is a lot of information. And I feel like it's always good to give less information because it leaves a little bit more space for people to imagine. And that was a little bit part of the design of how we filmed it, as well as the material itself. A lot of the Iranian films that we're referencing in the movie, do not give you the classic kind of information we expect from a Western style action film, for example. Like lots of times you won't see a person talking. You'll see, the camera will focus on a person listening rather than a person speaking. Sometimes, you'll hear a conversation between two characters, but you'll only see the building in which that conversation takes place. And sometimes you don't see even the faces of people. Sometimes, a character, you don't always have to shoot their face. And I feel like that always kind of opens up questions, and it kind of invites the viewer to have their own relationship with the material. So the using 16 as opposed to digital, it's about, again, sort of one sort of layer, a few layers less information leaves more space for them.
The Icelandic doctor.
Yeah, that's true. I did meet this Icelandic doctor who believed that the analog signal connects with the emotional frequencies of the brain, and the digital signal connects directly with the logical centers of the brain. And he might have been a quack, but I actually think that's true.
This is an interesting take. I really liked the cinematography. I liked the color. It was very unique, right? The movie didn't look like your typical film. It had its own vision. It had its own picturesque quality to it, and I really enjoyed that.
Great, yeah, we love it.
We both used to work at Tim Hortons, so we would be remiss to not ask, how did you convince them to let you use them and reinterpret their iconography?
Want to take them one over?
Yeah, we didn't speak to Tim. We kind of just did our own thing. We just tried to imagine how we would, want to imagine it. And since then, we've received a lot of positive feedback from people wanting Tim Hortons to be like that. They're like, wow, we wish Tim Hortons looked like that. And so this is great. Maybe it will inspire something,
Fingers crossed, because it does look amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, Tim is part of the natural universe at this point. I mean, you both have like a personal, that's part of your life. You know what I mean? Like, Tim can't claim that doesn't belong to you in some way and is unworthy of artistic commentary. I mean, Tim is omnipresent like a tree or a shrub at this point. You know what I mean? So Tim is just in the culture, and that's we have to comment on it.
I love that. I love that.
One question: what draws you to absurdism and reinterpreting Canadiana?
Well, I mean, for the absurdism, I think that's really just an expression of us. Someone asked us a question last night about the tone of the movie and the humor in it, and really, I mean, that is just how we are. I think that as you are, so will the art be, and I mean, most of the film was sort of coming up with ideas that I don't know, Ila and Pirouz and I found to be funny or meaningful on some. There is sort of a philosophical animus to the movie, which also we share. So that's kind of a thing. But I think the thing about Canadiana, I mean, it's yes, it's sort of a Canadian film, but it also isn't. It's a movie that is kind of between spaces, and it's sort of beyond the way we try to contain things typically. Like we love to come up with containers as humans to sort of organize the world into little Tupperware containers, but all of those don't always reflect reality. It's kind of like when you look at an international border, the human has imagined a very rigid line between this space and that. But when you look at it, you see how it's infinitely interconnected and actually very fluid. And so part of I don't know if there's a reinterpretation going on. I mean, there's sort of a defamiliarization in the movie, but that leads, we feel, to a new familiarity. And oftentimes when you look at a thing that is familiar through a prism that is maybe unfamiliar, it actually becomes more vivid and more alive to you. and a new proximity is created. That's sort of been our experience showing the movie in Winnipeg and even in Tehran. Right?
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny because we showed it in Winnipeg last week, and the Winnipeg people they just said, "Wow, this movie is for us. This is a movie you made for us, you know." And in Iran, a couple of weeks ago, we showed it in an underground cinema, and everybody in Iran said, "This is an Iranian movie. This movie just made for us." Matthew, you were one of us, you know. So and that wasn't really the idea of it. That was like the movie in between, you know. But we love that comments that Winnipeg love it in that way and Iranian love it in that way. I said, okay, this movie is for everyone, but Winnipeg and Iranian can take it, you know, for sure. So that was
well, that's it. I mean, I think that's a real measure that they can, that, you know, on both sides of the world, that this in between space, they can connect with it, you know.
Yeah, and that's great that your art could connect people together, that they can see see what they want to see in it, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's what art can do, right? And it's something that we can't. I mean, I think demonstrably we politics and the economy and social media has been unable to connect in a really troubling way, in fact. But art still does have the capacity to connect, and that is sort of what the movie is. It is a longing for connection.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you so much for the film. Congratulations on this and getting into Canada's top 10. We were a little annoyed that you guys didn't get into the Oscars because we were pulling for you. But
thank you.
I'm glad everybody is responding to it well, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
Lovely to chat.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Cheers.